So hi everyone, welcome to another Whitetulip Health Awareness Program, and thank you for being here with us today. My name is Semanur. I work at the Rockriver Public Library as an Adult Services Associate. Today's topic is mental and emotional wellness, and we have Dr. Okan and Dr. Yilmaz with us to talk about the topic. I just briefly I'm trying to briefly introduce our presenters today. Dr. Okan has graduated from Hacettepe University Medical School in Turkey in 2007 and finished her psychiatry residency at Miami Nights Medical. It's difficult to say. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, it's a hard name.
Medical Center. After doing her psycho-oncology fellowship at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, she went on with being a psychiatry attendant at Westchester Medical Center. For the past 3 years, she has her own practice. She loves doing therapy. She resides in New York with her husband and 3 kids. Welcome again.
Thank you.
So we have another presenter today, which is Dr. Yilmaz. Welcome again. After having his master's in Oklahoma State photonics, right?
That's right, photonics. You could say physics.
Photonics, yeah. Has gradually moved from working as an engineer to teaching, and then eventually to his current career in mental health as counselor and life coach. He has taught at middle, high school, and college levels and worked as school counselor between 2000 and 2021 in public school districts. As a keen believer in the power of emotions, he has presented his strong hope and trust to his students and clients. Students have named him as Mr. Why Not, due to his strong faith in them. So it was interesting for me to see your nickname, Mr. Yilmaz.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here with us. And I'm so sorry that we had some technical issue at the beginning. I cannot still see you correctly. Everything is upside down for me, but I'm just trying my best here to.
No worries, those are expected.
Yeah, to follow with the program. So let's get started. I don't know either Dr. Okan or Yilmaz gonna start first.
I will start.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I want to welcome everyone again. I'm thankful that you're spending your beautiful Saturday time here. And I hope that in the end you feel like I'm glad I came. So
I was going to say that if there's any question, would you like to get the questions during your presentations or after?
So this is how we planned it. I'm going to start in half an hour or so. I'm going to present, then Edward is going to present like that. You can ask questions anytime, and also we will spare some time for questions in the end as well.
Okay, thank you.
We wanted interactive, but also we will accept questions at the end. So it's up to the decision of the person to ask the question. Okay,
so we are going to start today with mental and emotional wellness. The overview of my talk is going to be, I'm going to talk what mental health is and how our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors interact. What is mental illness? And I'm going to talk about a couple of common mental illnesses to show how it works and what is the importance of mental illness and how does the mental and physical health interact. And then Dr. Yilmaz is going to talk about how we keep our emotional and mental health well. So I thought I was going to ask the audience what you think mental health is, but I just realized this is not going to be an interactive session. It's going to be more of a webinar. So I'll continue.
Dr. Okan, if you want me to give the attendees to talk a chance, I can do it if you want me to.
I like it that way because then it might become boring if I just talk. I like the
Yeah.
audience to give some, interactive.
And also, I'm not sure if they are able to chat because it wasn't allowing me. Now it is allowing me as a panelist, but it wasn't allowing me to type anything in the
Yeah,
chat
they can write in QA box. That's
good.
Okay. So is there anybody who would like to comment on what mental health means? I only see one person, so I don't know. Okay, I think there's this technical, I don't know, understand, I can't see. So I'll just continue myself. Mental health is, it starts with how we think, and it results in how we feel, and it results in how we act. So this whole chain is our mental health. If our thoughts are healthy, if our feelings are healthy, if our actions are healthy, then this is called a mentally and emotionally healthy. And to make it a more solid example, there are two examples here. If you look at the first cycle on top, and if you look at the thoughts on the right side, for example, if you think to yourself, I've let everyone down, they'll be angry with me, and I'm not a good friend, just like say these to yourself, and you'll notice you'll start to feel a little down. And so the seed, the core is the thoughts. And from there on, the thoughts produce certain feelings. Those are like notifications or alarms or sirens to us, like, look at me, there is something. And that feeling is gonna help you notice and do an action to protect you from what the seed is telling. So the thought is saying, for example, here, they'll be angry with me, I'm not a good friend. So technically, if I want to protect myself, what should I do? I should withdraw myself so that they are not further angry with me, or they don't see that I'm not a good friend. So then the behavior is going to be withdrawing or avoiding friends. As you can see, the cycle, it all starts with the thoughts. The thoughts are the seeds of our mental health. In the second example on the bottom, if you look at the thoughts again, if you tell yourself, I can't do this, what is wrong with me? Everyone is looking at me, you'll start to feel anxious. And that's the notification. You're feeling like there's something, look at here, there's something to protect us. Then your behavior is going to be protect yourself, which is going to be getting away from the situation. So nobody sees that there's something wrong with you, or that you don't want more people looking at you. So then you're going to be avoiding. As you can see, it starts with the thoughts. That's the seed, that's the core. The thought produces some feelings for you to notice. Sometimes we are not noticing it. And then the feelings create a behavior. That's the chain. So
Ms. Okan.
Yes.
Just to make it interactive too, most of the time I do see clients, they don't see the transition, how their thoughts are actually playing into their, anxiety or worried or their frustration or anger. They just feel like a situation happened, an event happened, right? Somebody yelled at you and you are angry. Somebody, hit into your car and you are angry. Or somebody ruined your work and you are angry. So they don't see the transition, how it is happening and what are the thoughts getting in between. And I think it is most of the time because they have been so used to make this transition that their thoughts become very reflexive. Like, for example, when somebody refuses us, we might feel rejected. But in between, a lot of thoughts cross our minds. People always reject me. I'm not likable, whatever it is. But it is hard to catch most of the time.
I really appreciate that comment, actually. As you said, thoughts are invisible. So it's so hard to see that we have them, and we are like, as a fish in that ocean who doesn't recognize the water. We don't recognize the thoughts. But just to give an example of what you said, for example, if I am going to meet you today at 1 and I'm 30 minutes late and I come as if nothing happened and I just start the meeting, sorry guys, I'll just continue. And let's say you had a really rough day and you spend you struggled a lot to be here to make it, this is a special, like you have spared this hour to be here. and I already ruined it, right? So if you tell yourself, she's so irresponsible, she doesn't even respect my time, I did all this and look at what happened. If you tell these to yourself, just imagine now saying those, you'll start to feel angry towards me. And then it's going to reflect as either being passive aggressive, not being fully present in a meeting, or you're going to lash out like, how come you're so late, blah, blah, blah. But instead, think of as you had a really rough day and you didn't have even 1 second to yourself to just be with yourself. And because I was late 30 minutes, that gave you the time to be, oh, that's great. I have some free time. Nobody's bothering because they think I'm in a meeting, but at the same time, there's nobody. So I can just relax and be with myself. Then if you're saying these to yourself, you'll be happy. So as you said, things happen to us, but it's not the events that impact our mental health. It's the thoughts, the interpretation that I give to those events that makes my mental health. If I say good things to myself without realizing, it doesn't even bother me. But if I think negative stuff, it does. And another one, I think I love this one a lot. Let's say you're going to ski and you tell yourself, I'm just going to make sure I don't hit any tree. I'm not going to hit any tree. I'm not going to hit any tree. When you say this, you'll only see the trees. But if you tell yourself, okay, I'll make sure I'll stay on the road. I'll make sure I'll stay on the road. If you tell this to yourself, all you're going to see is looking at the road to make sure you stay on it. So negative thoughts are those trees and positive thoughts are that road. If you focus on negative thoughts, eventually that's going to lead us to this negative cycle. And as this cycle starts, the more the cycle is used, the thoughts create negative emotions, and the negative emotions create negative behaviors, and that just keeps it, feeds itself. That vicious cycle, after it's used so many times, it starts to become a pattern. But if we use the positive thoughts, if we are aware of it, the more I'm aware of those negative thoughts, and the more I recognize them and acknowledge them and try to replace them with positive ones, the more I manage my thoughts, it's going to lead to managing my emotions better. And if I acknowledge and recognize and manage my emotions better, then I'm going to manage my behavior better. In return, this is all going to lead to a better mental health. And that's going to come with obviously coping with the normal stresses of life in an easier way, being more productive, realizing my potential and contributing to the community. I'll be more confident when I'm faced with new situations or people. I'll feel more optimistic when I'm starting, like even my day, anything I feel like I can handle it. You do not always blame yourself. You'll set yourself goals. You'll feel good about yourself and you'll have a good self-esteem. The self-esteem is, again, everything just stems from those thoughts. So if we use that vicious cycle repeated from the childhood on, then they start to become a pattern, and then the patterns become a distortion. And what is a distortion? What that means is it becomes an untrue, unrealistic conclusion, a distortion of reality. So I'll start to believe to a untrue reality. And I'm going to start to live in that. So I'll just start to see the trees even further. And then it starts to create.
Okan,
yes.
Another way to name it is underlying assumption. So we make an assumption based on what we think and, based on how we perceive the life through our own lenses.
Yes.
So I like the term, underlying assumptions. So we do have a lot of assumptions about everything.
That's right.
Which we live without even knowing if they are the truth, reality, or the things that we made up, to be honest.
Yes, totally. And those assumptions, those underlying assumptions, those cognitive distortions, if they're practiced a lot, then there comes the mental illness. Some of them, the mental illnesses start to show up. And a mental health condition is a condition that impacts how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. To give an example, like if you look at depression, let's say you're thinking to yourself, any of these or some of these or most of these things, I'm lazy, I'm worthless, I'll never get through this, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I'm terrible, no one cares about me, my life sucks, I'm a failure. So let's think somebody thinks I'm a failure, right? I did try something, I failed, and I told myself I'm a failure without realizing. But then something else happened, and I said the same thing to myself again and again and again and again, and it became my reality. So I'll just see the trees now from now on. I won't see my successes, but I'll just see my failures, and then it's going to become me. Then the depression is going to start to creep up, because if I'm feeling such a failure, then I'll start to feel like, oh, like I start to feel very low, right? If you're feeling like a failure, you'll start to feel very depressed or irritable. And then I'm so like sucked into that feeling, I will lose my ability to get pleasure out of things. So if you have one of these, then the depression is starting. Then you look at these. It's going to start to feel like I'm a failure no matter what I do, what I try, what I want. Nothing is going to change. This is how I am. This is how the life loses its meaning. Then there is a lot of guilt that sort of covers your whole mental world, and it starts like you can't see anything else. It becomes excessive. You start to feel you don't have a lot of energy or motivation to do anything. So you start to stay in bed most of the time. Either you sleep a lot, or you can't sleep, but you still cannot get yourself out of bed. You just stay at home, start to lose your appetite. Nothing gives you pleasure, even food. So you start to lose weight, or you start to gain weight because you try to get some pleasure at least out of something, but you can't. And because you're so focused on this negative world, you cannot concentrate into things to the outside world, and everything slows down. You're dragging your life. Your speech, your movements, everything slows down, and you might start to feel like, what's the point? Like, there's no meaning in this. Maybe I should just end it. And this picture is depression. As you can see, it all started with that seed of that thinking where I'm a failure, or those negative thoughts.
Ms. Okan, can I reflect on two things out of the list?
Yeah.
The excessive guilt and hopelessness. The excessive guilt is, I don't know if you meant that one, but sometimes I see people start getting mad at themselves because of the way they are feeling. So they start feeling bad because of their assumptions and their irrational or dysfunctional beliefs and thoughts that are generating these negative situations and emotions. Without knowing that, they might associate the life condition or the emotion. Basically, they get like vested by the emotion. Like, I am my emotion. And it creates a lot of kind of hate and guilt. Why am I doing this to myself? Like, because you are suffering and you don't know how to get out of it. And it's kind of like a self-anger, self-guilt. I'm creating this and I'm not able to get out of this. And I am the responsible person. So it creates a lot of hopelessness. But I think at the core of the hopelessness is these thoughts and paradigms have the tendency to prove themselves right. So if you pause a moment, let me explain with your permission. I have a very close relative, and she has gone through a lot of traumas. And one of her thoughts or underlying assumptions is nobody loves me. And actually, we love her, but she definitely thinks that, what matters is what she thinks. So she thinks nobody loves her. And I sent her some medicine last summer, but she thought nobody would care about giving it to her. And she kept calling the person who took the medicine to her, right? And she explicitly made it clear that like she doesn't trust, or they will not gonna care about giving the medicine to her. And this person really got really frustrated because it's unfair when you really care and show love. And she took the medicine with her, carried it all the way overseas. And when you are on a vacation and holiday, you don't want to deal with this type of stuff. Definitely, she loves, she cares about her, but the person was treating her as if she doesn't like her, love her, because the underlying assumption is nobody cares about me, nobody loves me. So the person felt this clearly, that she's getting mad and like she thinks that she doesn't care, which is not truth. So what happened is she felt like dumping the medicine down the drain. She told me, actually, you know what, Mr. Wina, I feel like just draining this medicine down the toilet. and if I didn't handle the situation right, she will do it. So, and what will happen to the other person? See, I have told you, and once more time, I am right, I'm correct. Nobody cares about me. Nobody values who I am. And, they didn't even bring my medicine. That means I really mean nothing.
Excellent example. Yes. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the
Excellent
right
example. Thank you. And once you're in depression, you also see freaking crying spells. People tell, I don't even know why I'm crying. I just become very emotional with any tiny thing. They have a lot of bodily aches and pains, stomach aches, headaches, muscle aches, and they have very diminished social interaction. They tend to stay more alone, which in return makes the depression worse, and it feeds this vicious cycle again. And a lot of people, unless they are really severely depressed, they usually put a mask around people, so it would be hard to see that they are depressed. They would laugh and they would smile and they would sort of show up as much as they can handle it. So it would be hard to realize it from outside. Other negative thoughts in depression, just to give some examples so that if some of the audience can relate, we might all have some of these. All my friends and family hate me, just like the example you gave. I'm never going to get better. I cannot do anything right. I'm such a failure. I can't even clean my house. I must be completely worthless. Everyone would be better off without me. And the other thing is, the more depressed you get, the more negative thoughts you produce and feed them.
And the less likely you are able to get out of it.
Yes.
That's why the long-time depression is the major depression, 6 months. We don't want to get there because your nervous system and your body is forgetting hormonally how to start thinking right and thinking positive. Yes.
I'm a terrible mother or father. Something bad always happens. My depression just ruins everyone's life, and I'm so selfish. So the other common mental illness is anxiety. There are different types of anxiety, but I'm talking in an overall umbrella. What if I can't do it? I'm going to die of a heart attack. People are going to laugh at me if I mess up during your presentation. I'm going to go crazy if I can't stop feeling this so anxious. Things are not going to work out. As you can see, it's already like builds you up. Or I have to be in control all the time, or I can't cope with things. They're going to realize I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, I have to like hide it. I'll never feel normal. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I never do anything right. No one would ever like me. As you can see.
Why are you exposing me, Ms. Okan? Go ahead.
So again, we can all relate to some of these because we all have lots of different negative thoughts all the time. We just don't realize it a lot of times. And as you can also see, it's not like a separate thing, like these thoughts cause depression, these thoughts cause anxiety. Some thoughts cause depression and anxiety at the same time. So if you have anxiety, how do you recognize it? You will start to overthink, and you would start, picture it in my head, the anxiety as if a machine that starts to work quicker than it's supposed to. So this overthinking is there, like they can't stop your brain. It just keeps saying the same sentences and thoughts over and over. That causes a lot of physical symptoms, sweating, stomach issues, your heart beating fast, you can't breathe, you can't sleep, etc. And you this constant worrying causes you to avoid certain things that's going to worsen your anxiety. And everything that you're going to handle live in life is going to cause more anxiety, so you procrastinate. You don't want to get into anything, even like feeling out of form, because what if you make a mistake, what if this, what if that, and just like becomes too much, you start to avoid procrastinate. You become very impatient, because the more you wait, the more the machine is going to work, so you can't handle it. And as you can see with my the more it starts to do this, you start to feel like the machine is going to break and throw something out. That's when the panic attack comes. Like, it's unbearable anxiety. It's like so peaked up that it feels like you're either going to die, or you're going to feel like I'm going to lose my mind, or something bad, terrible is going to happen, or I'm dying. And then at the same time, it happens so quickly, as if that machine broke. Your heart is like beating so fast, or you feel some pain, that you really think you have heart attack. A lot of people go to the emergency rooms because of that.
So, Ms. Okan, I mean, people have different perspectives: mind over body, body over mind. So I'm mostly pro mind over body. So can we say that actually having the real attack is a reaction to the thoughts, to the worries and anxieties that we are creating very creatively in our minds? Can we say that?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, actually.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing? There is something called symptom stress. Like, actually, when you were showing all those underlying assumptions and irrational beliefs, my mind got stuck with like, I am a loser, because I entertain that very often, like big time. I'm a big time loser. So I don't know how many times it crosses my mind, like 5 times or 10 times. If I'm lucky, maybe 5. But of course, I don't pitch a tent in that misery, right? I don't entertain my mind. I don't get stuck. I move on. But most of the time, when people get worried or anxious, what I see what happens is they get really bothered by feeling anxious, as if it doesn't exist in the universe. They feel like, why am I feeling anxious? I shouldn't feel anxious. And they start getting some reaction to feel anxious, just like the panic attack. The fear of getting panic attack starts changing their body, changing their hormonal system, and all the distribution of the chemistry all over the body. Just the fear of getting it, right? And also the reaction to anxiety. Let's say you are feeling anxious and you start thinking, I shouldn't feel anxious. Why am I feeling anxious? I am mad now. So now you're angry on top of being anxious. That's called symptom stress, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, people get stuck into reacting to their own emotions rather than owning them. So I think it is crucial here to make a point that the emotions are given for a very good reason, right? The universe has its wisdom. The life and the creator of the life has it has the wisdom, the infinite intelligence and infinite wisdom. So the feelings are natural, but we rejecting them, like asking for a guarantee from the universe that we are immune from anxiety, is insane. That's something we are trying to control, and that's not something we can control. So, and as a matter of, as a consequence of that, getting into a playing field where we have no control but want to control, it is like sitting in the passenger seat and trying to fly the plane, right? You are not the pilot, and you will be getting mad why this is not going to Los Angeles or Hawaii, but we are ending up going to North Pole, right? You have dreams of swimming, and you might get mad that your anger or your anxiety is getting in the way, but we have to get curious. There has to be a reason why we are getting curious, or there has to be a thought behind it that is generating it. So, sorry for this distraction, but like my 2 cents on this one, I couldn't help.
No, I think that's helpful. And also, I would add to it as, so our emotions actually are as if like you look at your phone and you see the unread message, which is like bold, right? Bold in color, until you click it and see it, acknowledge it, it doesn't go away. Like it just keeps coming and notifying you. Like there's an unread message, unread message. Our emotions are like that. It tells you there is a need of yours that is not being met. And until you acknowledge it, until you recognize it, identify it, I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to let you skip it. You have to see this message. It's important for me. So then it's important, noticing that thought behind it, but not only thought, what do I want instead? For example, do I want to be seen? Do I want to feel that I'm loved? Do I want to what is my need that makes you, do you feel like you don't belong and you want to feel like you belong to somewhere or some people? Maybe that's the need underneath that causing those thoughts and then causing that emotion. We think if we ignore and suppress the emotion, if I suppress down the anxiety, if I just make it go away, I'll be fine. But it's the opposite. If I notice, why am I feeling so down? What is my thought? What is the underlying need of mine that's not being met? If I can see that, then the emotion automatically goes away, because it made its duty was to tell you there's something important for us. Once you read the message, oh, okay, I get what you're thinking. I get what's your need. Okay, now I can go. It's going to be non-bold anymore.
I think this you made a very crucial point when we are living our life, being able to acknowledge our needs or just suppressing them. And we cannot be fulfilled and happy unless we pursue that need, unless we read that signal, right? I mean, our immune system, our nervous system is miraculously magnificent. So we cannot just blind ourselves to a need screening. I will make the analogy, like you could, I'm sure at your childhood, you played in the pools and in the ocean. We had those beach balls, right? How good are you to suppress that beach ball to the bottom of the ocean, right? You could be pushing it down and it could be coming back. You will be pushing it back and actually it will flip you over if you insist, right?
Yes.
It will knock you down and you will be belly up. So this is a very crucial point on our way to fulfillment in life, because there are not much paths and clues for the pursuit of happiness. To me, I'm sure there are a lot of different approaches, but to me, the pursuit of happiness, the trademarks or the traces, the path that goes to the happiness, we have to sniff our discontent, right? We have to watch an eye on our discontent, because that discontent, like not being happy, rises from the unmet needs, as you say. So I think this is very crucial point that you made.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so as you can see, as Dr. Yilmaz mentioned, the thoughts are not visible, so we do not recognize the importance of it. And if it's so I'm thinking, so what? It feels that way, but actually it's as important as my heart beating. I can feel my heart beating, so then, okay, I see it, but thoughts are not visible. So that creates the difficulty, but there is no health without mental health, meaning there is no health without your thoughts being healthy and fruiting in your emotions being healthy and then your actions. So how does poor mental health affect our life? Why is mental health important on top of these that we already discussed? Obviously, if you are suffering from these negative thoughts, causing negative emotions and unmanaged emotions, causing not managed well behaviors, then the unhappiness is going to creep in, and you're going to have a decrease of enjoyment of your life. A very poor quality of your life is going to reduce dramatically. It's not only going to affect you, but your spouse, your children, your co-workers, your friends, your neighbors, everybody around you is going to suffer from this, right? If you're someone who's depressed, who hardly gets out of bed because you can't handle all these thoughts and emotions, then your spouse is going to need to take on more responsibility, and it's going to put more burden on him or her, which is going to result in his reduction in his quality of life. And it's going to obviously cause conflicts as well. You're going to start to argue more or not connect as much. The relationship difficulties, and you'll start to socially isolate yourself. In, like, I only put 2 mental illnesses here, but bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, ADHD, personality disorders, you name all of them. The more untreated they are, the more you're going to socially isolate yourself in a way, knowingly or unknowingly, and that itself is going to cause poorer mental health. And again, the vicious cycle started. Life is all about starting this cycle. Once you start to put the seed, you're starting a good cycle, or you're putting a bad seed, you're starting a bad cycle. Then to kind of self-medicate, self-treat, you might turn to tobacco, alcohol, and other substances, which temporarily might relieve you, understandably, but in the long run, they always cause further down with your mental health. Then you'll start to miss work or school, or you're going to have reduced productivity at work or school, which is in return affect you, and you might lose your job. And unemployment is not going to help you financial-wise, social-wise, and obviously the more you're going to lose your resources, the less chances that you're going to get better, which is going to prolong that period, and it's just vicious cycle continues. The financial problems that are going to come from that, the poverty or homelessness is going to further worsen your situation. Incarceration is really high in dramatically high in people with poor mental health, not because poor mental health makes you violent or a bad person. It just makes it hard for you to conform to society's norms, and it's hard to behave as the society expects you to, so that leads to being misconstrued or misunderstood or not being fit in, so then you become the target, and it's very obvious, like 3 times likely that you'll end up in jail compared to with someone who has a better mental health, or other legal problems. Self-harm and harm to others, including suicide and homicide, is a big problem, obviously. And poor mental health, this is the important link. It is shown that it weakens your immune system, so that you're much less likely to resist to infections and cancer. And also other immune diseases as well. There are lots of medicine is full of autoimmune diseases, meaning the diseases that your body is attacking itself. And they have a lot of roots from this mental health that we already discussed. It's shown that heart disease is higher in people with poor mental health and people with and heart. So it's both directions. Poor mental health increases your chance of having a heart disease, and having a heart disease increases your chance of poorer mental health. And there are lots of other medical conditions like that. So physical health and mental health go in hand. There, you cannot separate them. To give more detail, if you have poor mental health, obviously that's going to interfere with your ability to make healthy choices. You'll either not take your medications or not take it on time. You'll forget them, or you won't care about it. Oh, I forgot to go to the pharmacy. It's just going to worsen your medical condition. You're much less likely to exercise if you're that anxious, like you're so overwhelmed with those worries, or you're so depressed you can't even get yourself out of bed for taking a shower. How are you going to exercise? Not using tobacco, alcohol, or substances is going to be much less likely. Eating healthy and taking care of yourself, these are all going to be diminished or reduced, which is going to lead to poorer physical health. And I mentioned heart disease already, but there are lots of other diseases. Like some diseases are, you cannot say depression causes heart disease, but we can see that depression, people with untreated depression have a higher rate of heart disease. So there's some sort of interaction, there's some sort of link in between, similar to diabetes. Your diabetes would get worse if you don't take care of your mental health well. And it also, it's both ways. Infectious disease you're more prone to, because your immune system is weaker, but also you make poorer choices. You become sometimes more impulsive, or you start to have these self-destructive patterns that sort of thinks you deserve bad stuff. So you kind of forget to protect yourself, forget to do certain things, or just like, oh, I'll just do it mentality. It's going to lead you to have these infectious diseases. Stroke is the same. The people with stroke have a higher incidence of depression and anxiety, Parkinson's, seizure disorders. Thyroid disorders are big. Like you might have depression, anxiety, bipolar, sometimes psychosis even because of that. Multiple sclerosis, liver problems, not all obviously, but certain liver problems, kidney problems, skin disease like psoriasis, asthma, and very importantly, cancer. It's another type of thing that's very clearly shown that stress increases your chance of cancer, like severe, unmanaged. Stress, not itself, but unmanaged, unhealthy stress increases your chance of cancer. And actually, there are some cancers, pancreatic cancer. It is so interesting. I don't know that I have pancreas cancer yet. I don't feel that like sick, and I don't know what it told me yet. But I start to feel depressed. Usually, the first sign of pancreatic cancer is depression. It is so interesting. So it's not because, oh, I have cancer, I might die, and I'm like already having these negative thoughts and I become depressed. That's a very common possibility, but it's just, I don't even know I have cancer yet. I start to feel depressed, I start to become depressed, and what is going on? Then the doctor tells me you have cancer. So the first sign, the disease itself causes depression. So it's so intertwined, it's so connected to each other. You cannot separate physical health from mental health. And it's so interesting that it's all that seed, thoughts. It is so interesting. The last two things that I'm going to mention is death rates. It's shown that severely mentally ill patients die 10 to 25 years earlier than the general population of their age. And schizophrenia mortality rates are 2.5 times higher risk. Depression makes your mortality rate 1 times higher if it's untreated. Bipolar disorder, premature mortality rates are 35 to 50% higher than the general population. So as you can see, mental illness is so connected to our physical health, even our lifetime. So it's extremely important to take care of our mental health. And the key starts with recognizing, what am I thinking right now? What am I telling myself? And it's for some people, temperament-wise, or how they're raised, or what they're exposed to, it might be more easy for them to recognize their thoughts. But for some people, it's just so difficult. I can't even, it's so hard. That's where the therapy comes in. The therapy is the place where it makes your thoughts, emotions, and actions visible to you. So that's where you start, oh, that's what I'm thinking. Oh, that's why I'm feeling this way. And then, oh, that's why I'm behaving that way. It's so invisible. It's so hard to see these patterns by yourself. But the therapy, if it's obviously well-done therapy, then it makes them visible just like your physical health. Then you're able to play with them and manage them better so that your mental health is better, which in return helps your physical health be better. Again, to emphasize, I don't want any misunderstandings. The mental illness by itself does not cause a direct medical illness. You cannot say depression causes heart disease. But we just see that over time with these lifestyle choices and other things, if you have an untreated mental illness, you're much less likely to get medical illnesses. And the last one is the global economic burden of mental illness. In 2008, in US, it was $236 billion. That's including the direct costs of medical services, which, let's say I'm having a panic attack, I go to the emergency room, that is covered, or then I go see a psychiatrist or my primary care physician, and then I'm admitted to the hospital, including all these services and medications. The workplace costs, my missed days of work because I'm so depressed or I'm so anxious or whatever, or my reduced productivity, and suicide-related costs. So this is including those items. but it doesn't include the side costs, right? If my spouse is so depressed that he cannot go to work, do you think I'll be just totally fine? No, I'm going to have a lot of burden, feeling bad for him, trying to help him, and also getting everything on my shoulder, trying to take care of everything. That's going to take a toll on me, which is in return going to cost even more cost. Even obviously finance is second priority, but it's very important. Instead, we could use those resources for ourselves in a better way. So my bottom line is thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Behaviors are more visible, but it's still, that is invisible to us, but it's extremely important. If you want to be healthy, we need to recognize them and then connect it with our physical health. One last thing that I'm going to end, Ed, is there's a book called The Body Keeps a Score, which makes it very nicely explaining our body, our mind codes certain thoughts and behaviors and feelings to our body parts. For example, if I had a car accident and I was so scared that my heart was racing at the time, my mind can pin it down to my heart, like it can code it there. So I can, every time I think of that car accident, I might feel the same heart feeling. And sometimes I might not even recognize that I'm thinking that. And I say, why is my heart beating so fast? What happened? But I don't realize I just saw some news that was talking about a car accident, and I'm not even looking at it. Somebody else passing by was talking about it maybe, but that is going to make my heart beat fast because it's coded there. And unless I take care of those thoughts and emotions, this is not going to go away. It might not be an illness, but it's impacting me physically. So physical and mental health are very, very, very intertwined. We need to take care of them both to be healthy. So that's where I end of my talk. Thank you for listening. I'll pass the ball to Dr. Yilmaz. If you have any questions, of course, I can take them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Okan. Maybe we should take some questions before they forget.
Yes, I allow everyone to talk. So if anyone wants to ask a question, they are able to talk at the moment. Can I ask a question while we are waiting for our attendees? I mean, I don't have enough knowledge about this area. So what's exactly the difference in between being anxious and having anxiety? Is it something like when it started, or yeah? So these two terms I always confuse, and I don't know which one which.
Excellent question. So it's similar to actually feeling depressed and depression. So the feeling anxious is an emotion that we all face, or feeling depressed is an emotion that we might all face at a certain time in our life. But we call it anxiety. We call it disorder, but anxiety when it becomes too intense that it starts to affect your daily functioning. So, for example, you start to go to school late because you're so anxious you can't get out of the house, or so you need to study for an exam, but it's so hard you can't study. It impairs your ability to continue with the life. That's when it becomes an anxiety or anxiety disorder. But feeling anxious is a very normal emotion that we all have to protect ourselves. If I'm anxious, I will be like more avoidant. I'm watching I make sure I'm safe before I take a step. So feeling anxious is an emotion, but anxiety is a mental illness that impacts your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't see any more questions. I mean, anybody can ask later. Maybe Dr. Yilmaz, you can continue.
Okay. Let me share the screen. All right. So, Ms. Okan, you have touched on many important topics. So I will try to skip some of the ones that has been already mentioned. But I would like to start with a summary and like general overview. I think as human beings, we are very creative in making meanings. Like we are meaning making machines, right? So that makes us land on a spectrum of neuroticism, right? So some of them are more relaxed, they are like in la la land. I mean, I can empathize to them, and some of them are a little bit on the very sensitive and highly neurotic part. So as human beings, we could choose to be somewhere on the spectrum. I think I believe we have the choice. We have the choice, and I think it is very much worth to make an emphasis on the attention. So our daily experiences is a function of many things, but also one of the biggest factors is where we put our attention. I mean, as a matter of fact, just a sample. I like my house. It has a good garden and nice flowers. But when I step out of my door, I do see the garbage cans of my neighbor, right? So if I put all my attention in seeing them and I make a big deal out of them, all the joy and my experience of enjoying my house will be the garbage cans of my neighbor. So it is very important to put our attention where we want to be on the neuroticism spectrum. But when it comes to make it a little bit easy for us, here are some of the things that I have seen. I think we are meant to live the life with a purpose. So having a purpose-driven life is very essential. As a person who is like a dormant existentialist, when I say like that, dormant existentialist, I always look for a meaning in something. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, I will, I will hate my dad to leave for the work early in the morning. So he was, an engineer. So he was leaving, and I will stop him and start asking questions. Daddy, why do you have to go to work? And he's like, okay, I need to make money, pay the bills, take you to the vacation. Okay, what will happen when you make the money? Okay, what will happen if we have houses? And question after question. Now I realize I was actually looking for something more meaningful than just the symbolic things, the materialistic things. So I think having a purpose-driven life is important. So we will get to that one. And also it is
important.
Yes.
So myself, I don't like these advices or recommendations or suggestions on the social media or in the internet, where they say think positive, because I'm myself inside my head, I'm a very negative thought driven person. At least I used to be, but still,
I'm a neurotic too.
As a temperament, that's how I was created, I think. And I think that everybody has a different temperament. Those advices made me very guilty, as if I choose to be them myself, like as if I'm choosing those thoughts. But some of them are so automatic, they're actually called automatic thoughts. I'm not doing it. It's just how it was coded into my brain when I was younger.
How it was wired over
yes,
the years.
That's how wired or coded in some way. Is a software. Some is part of my hardware. I cannot change maybe that tendency, but the software was encrypted while I was, very young. So when we say change into positive, I think that's leading the audience to feel I can't do it, so that it makes them even further guilty or further negative. What I'm trying to say is you might not be able to change them, but being aware of them is the key starting point. If you're aware of your negative thoughts, then you can search for books, search for therapists, search for courses that might help you to tackle them. You might not do that, change it to a positive. Just you're not choosing to be that person. It's just important to be aware of it. I'm sorry if I made it too long.
Yeah, that's great. That's very good. And actually, you brought a very good point in my mind. Awareness and consciousness is really key. But sometimes things doesn't bother us. We could slip, like we cannot do our best, and we cannot create a lot of meaningful things that we have the potential for. But sometimes we are in so darkness that it really doesn't poke us. It doesn't really bother us. And the reason I think it happens is we cannot have a problem unless we have a goal, right? So, and that's my point by getting into purpose-driven life and the dreams. If we don't have excitement, if we don't have enthusiasm and passion to make some things happen, right? Whatever those things for you, me, for everybody is different. If we don't have the burning desire to make them happen in life, to realize them, the things that come in the way doesn't really bother us, right? But my point in purpose-driven life is like you cannot have a problem without having a goal. So as you said, we cannot be aware of them if they are not really intensely bothering us. Just like some of the small voices we don't hear, right? Sometimes, I mean, if it is not very cold outside, we don't feel it. If it is not too hot, we don't feel it. So because it doesn't bother us. But if you have a goal of not respirating and not smelling, always, being nice, tidy and clean and smelling nice, that will be a problem. But we have to have goals and dreams in life to be aware of the issues that's getting in the way. If we don't have a goal, the things that's coming across our life, if we are unintentional about life, we will just live it. But bad news, guess what? The trees live it, the birds live it. Then what is the consciousness given to us for? What is the consciousness given for? So I think anything given to us, any blessing, the mind, a consciousness, faith, the feelings, emotions are given for a reason. And anytime we don't use them for an intended purpose, we are falling behind our game. So we are really hurting ourselves in the game, which is called life, right? And it starts creating discomfort, right? It starts creating discomfort. So we can use that discomfort and discontent, as you have mentioned in your presentation. You mentioned about the need, right? So the unmet need will become something discontent. Sometimes we cannot specify that, right? So sometimes the whole counseling method and methodology and journey is actually about helping you realize what you want and what is getting in the way, and how much of that is really external and how much is that actually you getting on your own way, right? So I would like to continue with the faith in solutions and ourselves. I think here we are looking for answers to help ourselves and the humanity, how we can be having a journey that we desire, and that will be only because of the nature of the life, not because of our irrational thoughts, right? Not our perception to life. So we are trying to help our own psyche, or the world of psychology, to elevate the unnecessary suffering that we are creating because of our meaning-making tendencies, right? So to be able to have a life which is satisfying and fulfilling, I believe we have to believe in our dreams. We have to have our dreams, and we have to think positively about who we are. And actually, we have to find a definition who we really are, because you cannot choose a purpose. Everybody will choose a different purpose because we are all different. Everybody will choose a dream, but everybody is different. So after that, I will cover the dreams, and then I want to mention a little bit what gets in the way of going towards our dreams, right? The waterfalls are very easy. The gravity pulls very easily. It's very natural. But sometimes we feel like going uphills when we choose the wrong dreams, right? When we are in the pursuit of something that doesn't align to who we are, life becomes very difficult, and life starts giving us signals that we are going on the wrong track, on the wrong path, and we are not, chasing the right dream. If we keep ignoring the signs that gets on the way, and we will get ourselves a step closer to anxiety and worry and eventually depression. So I think it is important to be able to choose the right dreams. And how do we choose them? So we were gonna see them really quickly, shortly, and I will try to make this very happen. And then I will gonna give some samples of what gets in the way, right? We occasionally lose our mind. And if I had the chance to ask here, who didn't go through depression, who didn't feel like losing their mind here, we could call that person the blessed mind. But I have gone to depression a couple of times. It wasn't that intense, I think, but at some parts I felt like it's intolerable, like I felt like miserable, right? So I'm sure most of us do go through hard times. And what is the key to prevent that from happening, or what are some tools that will help us not to get there? And as we know, not all the keys open the doors, right? Not all the therapy modalities will gonna help us to heal and to overcome or to prevent. But based on the stuff that you have shared, actually, one of the issues that gets people mostly in trouble is they're demanding, like our demand on ourselves. I have to be like this. Who told us that we have to be like that, right? Where did we come with that? And our second demand is on others. He cannot do that to me, right? They shouldn't have done so. How dare they do, right? I can't believe they did it. It is unbelievable, right? It's so frustrating. How come they did it? So we demand. And the third one is from the situations, right? Something bad happened, and does life bring that to us? Yes, sometimes we have earthquakes, accidents happen, and the wisdom of life, I think we learn and improve with those challenges. But many of the times we could really push the idea that shouldn't have happened. So I do find demanding and having musty thoughts. This book, 3-Minute Therapy, I meet Michael Edelstein every week. So he has this nice book, and he gives a lot of samples of musty thoughts. Basically, what are the things that we feel like we should have, we must have, things must happen that way, in a certain way. We must have everything planned, or the people must have planned everything for us, right? I must never make my mom angry, right? I must never make her sad, right? I do have, some youth clients, they are really overwhelmed from the times that they made their mom angry. And I'm asking that why you think that you must not make them angry at all? And we're going to cover those shortly. But without moving further, since we thought about the musty situations, as Ms. Okan said, in these musty situations, we are trying to control, we are trying to make things predictable and certain, right? We are trying to have a guarantee for certainty. So this one thing can be a very key idea to call on ourselves and to catch ourselves anytime we feel obliged to do something in a certain way, right? It's a pattern, right? Anytime we catch ourselves that we have to do this in this certain way. This have to happen to me this way, or this shouldn't have happened. Anytime we catch ourselves I think we could raise the red flag and ask, what is an indication? What is the fact, or what is the proof? What is the evidence that this thought is true, right? Why do I believe this must happen that way? And most importantly, I think if we could ask, why will that matter to me, right? Why will that matter to me? So before becoming very hypothetical, so let me move on, and I will try to give some samples from the books. And my other point will be, let me go up. Oh, I'm moving opposite direction. Sorry. Here you go. Okay. How do you identify an irrational thought? Like, what is a simple test to uncover an irrational thought? So, well, I think it is very important to be excited about life, right? To have dreams, because we don't want to miss it. And at any point in our lives, we might feel stuck and unfulfilled, right? But good news is that, as Napoleon Hill said, the best person to remedy the problem is the person who created it in the first place. So, thanks God, we know how we got entangled, right? We were with us. Although sometimes we are not home, we are out of our minds, but most of the time we know how things went for us. As Ms. Okan stated before, our body keeps the memory. We have the memory of things. It's recorded and it's transferred from cell to cell, although our cells are renewed every 6 months. So it's being told. It's just like whispering from one cell to the other cell, right? So, going in the right direction. Okay. So, having a fulfilled life comes with, yeah.
I think we have like 10 minutes. Maybe we can give the last 2 minutes to the audience if they have any questions. You have like 8 minutes or so just to like we could.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So let me.
I'm not aware what the time is.
Okay, so just let me go to some tips then, that people will share, and we could have some questions as well. So if you would like to live a fulfilling life, I think this is a good question, in mind. Like, what would you like to read in a book written about us, right? What is the way of becoming that, and how we would like to leave a legacy behind, right? So there have been many inquiries throughout the history that the search for the happiness and the peace of mind, but I think it comes with purpose. And as we discussed before, everybody might adopt a different purpose. Right, Ms. Okan? You will be happy with a different goal and dream, and I will be happy with a different goal and dream. So how will we choose a purpose and a dream? Right? How will we choose it? And when you are choosing a dream, you have to have peace of mind. So there are some good characteristics of choosing a dream, because we make choices in life, right? Things come up in life, and we have a lot of crossroads at every moment, actually. So to be able to feel that contentness in our journey that's called life, we have to be following the paths that will get us closer to who we are. So when I talked about what you would like to read in that book, I think that book will be your legacy. So I'm trying to summarize it. And your legacy is not possible without you actually being authentic and identifying who you are at the core, right? So how will you identify who you are at the core is actually being a little bit aware of your analytical mind. There is something called paralysis by analysis, just like all those thoughts. And sometimes we could present this to others in the name of rationalism, but are they real rationalism, or the rationale we did draw out of the life we lived, right? Sometimes we build a rationalism very unique to us, which has nothing to do being with rational, right? Just like the underlying assumptions the irrational thoughts and beliefs you mentioned. So as we move through life, we have a lot of collections, early childhood collections, all the traumatic, collections, and all the patterns that we did develop throughout years, right? All the schemas that we developed. Like, some of us have emotional deprivation. Some of us have defectiveness. We see life, read life through the eyes of these, traps and lenses. Like the people who feel defected, they are distant. They put masks. They didn't own their vulnerability because they were made so shameful in their interactions with the caregivers or the people around them. They were made so shameful that they are convinced that they are defective. So they see life through these, and they present this as their rationalism. But deep down in their soul's spirit, blueprint, they do have desires. We talked about the discontent, but we didn't mention the desires. So those desires could shape themselves in the form of, I would like to have a great title. I would like to have great education. I would like to have a big mansion or, the best car. I don't even know the names. But under them and behind them, actually, they are calling for a more sacred reason, and that is to be who you are. Okay, through the lens, your dream might appear in different forms, but at the core, you are actually trying to become who you are, right? So I believe as people make conscious effort to unlayer who they are at the essence, they will be able to harmonize a coherent self. Some people call this as true self, right? That is more in line with their creation and love, being able to eliminate the unnecessary suffering and clutter from early collections and who they believe they should become. That's the idealized ego self, right? We all have some assumptions that we should not act like that, or we should be this way. We have a lot of, certain ways of acting and reacting to life because we believe that that's how we should be. As we shift our focus towards our essence and define our identity over core values, we will get one step closer to fulfillment and stop pursuing different things, right? Because there is no end to pursue the next shining star. There will be always others and other, mindsets to look up to. But I think the most crucially is we explore what we have and who we are and accept as is, that will be the legacy. So I think what I would love to read in that book is a person who explored himself and content with what he saw, and he lived his life in line with that. So in my case, it will be, being compassionate and being genuinely connected to others, right? Janet Hogan is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a great point. On the counter, I would, what I'm thinking is, if I'm depressed, or if I'm anxious, or if I'm sort of not even, I might not have the disorder, but I'm sort of in those negative state. I think trying to have a legacy or trying to have a dream would make me even further stressed out, because I don't even know myself. There's something that I'm already like under the, I don't even know myself, what I'm thinking, what I'm going through. It would stress me out further to try to have a dream. Or maybe after tackling those down, I think my own path would be having a dream. But maybe, that's.
I see. Can I address that from my perspective?
Yeah.
I do understand your point. When we are depressed, we are not functional. We don't even think about the dreams. We are trying to survive day to day. Is that what you mean?
Sort of.
Oh, sort of. Okay. So what I was suggesting is actually a preventative shield, so that prevents us from getting there, right? But if we have built this fundamental, the framework, if we have built this framework, that we keenly believe we are precious, valuable, and strong and powerful by the person who we are, we I don't want to say we are bulletproof, right? But we are more protected towards leaning towards depression. And even in depression, if we had the habit of seeing our richness, like I do, generally see that I love being connected. And as a matter of fact, they make joke, it takes 6 person to reach anybody in the world, but if you know Mr. Yilmaz, it might take 3 people. So I love being genuinely connected and caring compassionately, and I do value myself. So here it says, I'm not my past, I am above what happened, right? I am way more than what I think of, because these qualities, these attributes go way more. So for example, I could be involving, for a depressed person, they could be involved with a very negative thought at that moment, right? They could be feeling really bad. But if they got in the habit of acknowledging and appreciating who they are at the core, and for everybody it is different, right? Some people are greatly generous, some people are greatly fair, you name it, right? So if we have built that habit of mind, it will gonna help us even when we are going through depression, because we could remind ourselves, like visually, we are all familiar with the diamond and gold. If you drop a gold or diamond in a mud, right, will the diamond become bad or diffuse? No, you could take it out, wash away, and you are still as valuable as diamond. Like Miss Okan, what will be a shining attribute that you see in yourself, just as a sample for others as well? Like as a personality, as a spiritual code, what is something that you will never lose, regardless of what happens, regardless of how bad you think about yourself? What will be something that's engraved, like a engraved, like a weaved in your code, in your emotional code or spiritual code? What is something that you think that shines and you are grateful? You are happy and grateful for being that person. Is it generosity? Is it like fairness? Is it openness? Is it the sincerity and warmth and being genuine? What is that? or something else? Huh?
I would say sincerity.
Yeah, I do see that sincerity in you, right? I do see that sincerity. So as we are working, making this stronger, as you know, this is part of like acceptance commitment therapy. But as we are helping our clients and helping ourselves to really see this clearly, we will have some paradigms. You mentioned some of them, right? You mentioned some of them. And so this is a list of core values. And actually, there is a mental health worker. She's an Australian. She's worldwide. Janet Hogan. Janet Hogan, she does a really good job in terms of helping people identifying what are their strong traits and what are their needs, as you mentioned before. So she combines finding out what is most essential and crucial value to us, and then connects it with our needs. Because if we don't know our essential need, we will be lost in the midst of so many options. We will not gonna be able to prioritize, right? And we will be sitting and wondering why I am not feeling sad and unfulfilled, because you have been chasing a lot of stuff, spending time with so many things, which is not crucial. They are minor, they are secondary. It's the 3rd level, 4th level. But we haven't identified who we are at the core. We will not gonna be able to make conscientious choices. And we will gonna, regardless of which path we take, you could be taking a good path, but deep down inside, that is not fully meeting your needs.
That is good.
And the way to identify those essential values will gonna reveal who you are at the core. Actually, there is a saying, they say, what is that? Yeah, here you go. while you are building your dream, the dream actually builds you, right? Because while you are trying to chase some dreams, you're going to end up actually finding out who you really are at the core.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
once you know that, you will not going to be diffused in straight directions. You will not going to be investing in something which is less beneficial to you. So you know the world of finance. Your husband is a good financial analyst. So if you make an investment and you know that there was actually a 10 times more beneficial, that will bring better return, okay, you are not gaining. You feel still like a loser because you didn't invest that 10 times more revenue, right? You
So
just invested something good, but deep down, you know, actually that wasn't the best fitted. So
okay.
that's why I was, yeah.
So I think our audience also needs to respect from us to kind of their time. I think we're a little
Yep.
over time.
Okay, then let me summarize with one sentence. I did put what are the qualifications of a good dream? How do you know that? And also, since we talked about the rational and irrational thought, how do you dispute a rational thought? And I had some samples from like real life scenarios. But let me say,
I'm sorry. We're over time for 5 minutes, and how many minutes are we planning to finish? So that's why I just.
think I could finish in 1 minute, and
Okay. Okay.
we
All right.
could get to the questions. So
All right.
I will make it short and leave it to the audience. They could order this book, the 3-minute therapy. They have a lot of samples of the musty thoughts, right? Musty thoughts and clear thoughts. They do have samples about how will the person, the negative talk, the negative self-talk will say to himself, and what will be the positive way to do that. And it gives a lot of samples from eating disorders, from depression, the anger management, healthy relationships, smoking, addiction, overeating. So the panic attacks. So what will be a typical irrational thoughts of people who are having panic attacks, and their compulsive drinking, their attitudes about life, about love and money, how social anxiety plays into irrational thoughts. So basically, it is down to earth years of experience. I think our audience can go through that. So I did put the ABCDE of emotions, and I think the most crucial part is whatever you find your unhealthy thinking pattern, you should ask yourself, why will that matter to me, right? Let's say you did identify something you believe you must do this, and what do you expect will happen if you do that? You have to ask yourself, what do you expect will happen if you do that or do not do that, right? And why will that matter? So those two questions are very crucial. Okay. Well, I think the time is not enough to wrap it all, but I think we have covered quite a bit. I would love to have some time for questions, definitely. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. It's it's a great presentation from Ms. Okan and Mr. Yilmaz. If there's any question, please you can turn on your microphone and you can talk. I allowed everyone to talk. I mean, at the moment, if they want to. If it's not,
If
maybe we can wrap
if they
up.
have any questions, they could later on. They could ask through email, Mr.
Yes.
Wynat2020 gmail.com, or I'm giving my cell phone 4212385. And how would that be for you, Miss Okan? Do you want to write yourself, or do you want me to write it for you?
I think if they have any questions, they can ask Miss Yalvat, and she can communicate to me if there are any.
Yes, I can do that too. If you want me to send your email addresses to our attendees, like so I can do that too.
Sure.
or if you are willing to
Yeah, we-
share your presentations, I can also share those with the patrons if you want me to. That's also another
If
option.
anybody's
Yeah.
interested.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here with us and giving your time to share all these great information and knowledge.
It
Thank
was
you for
a
your time.
privilege for us. We really did benefit a lot.
Thank you
And,
so much. It was a
have a-
great, yeah. It
Thank
was a great presentation from both of you. As I was trying to tell you earlier that I have very little knowledge about the topic. So I'm glad that I was able to also listen to you. And again, I'm so sorry that we had some technical issues. I still see you upside down, but I tried my best to
Should-
cope.
Should we
Thank you for
turn
your
left or
patience,
right
Hande.
to make it right?
Yeah.
Staying here for despite that difficulty. Thank you. Thank you everyone for their time. Hope they everybody benefit to some degree. Have a nice Saturday.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you.